And so I've got about 10 or 15-minute lecture, and then we'll ask questions on the chat box or in the chat box. Okay, so this is the week of February 1st. And first of all, to those of you who did not get the River Reader or Bedford Handbook assignments turned in, remember there's no late work accepted. These first points are pretty minor in the big picture. If you do all of your work for the rest of the semester, you can still get an A. And also, as I mentioned to a few of you yesterday, and I think we sent it in an email, at the end of the semester, I do provide some extra credit that will make up any assignments that you missed for 50 points anyhow. And it's an easy 50 points. So stay tuned for that. That'll be at the end of the semester. Okay, this week, your main assignment, other than the 15-point research module that you have every week, your main assignment is going to be the narrative essay. Okay, and that's going to be due next Monday night by 11:59 p.m. Did I say Sunday night by 11:59 p.m.? That's February 7th. And that's going to be worth 100 points. And so today I'm going to discuss the essay prompt for the narrative essay. And it can also be called personal experience essay. And on the assigned sheet, I actually titled it both things: narrative essay, personal experience. Okay, then after I discuss the prompt, I will discuss the narrative essay rubric. And this rubric is also used for the other 100-point essays: the process essay, the compare-contrast essay, and the essay of definition. Okay, so first I'm going to read and explain the narrative essay assignment sheet, also called personal experience. And you can find this document on the modules tab in Canvas. All right, so this is what it looks like. Okay, so you are to type a 2 to 3 page essay about an important experience in your life. It might be the best or worst experience you ever had. For the introduction, you're going to tell when and where the experience took place and briefly introduce the significance. Now, I left something off this sheet. At the end of your introduction, you are to write your thesis statement for the essay. That's at the end of the introductory paragraph. For the body of your essay, you will write 3 or 4 paragraphs that tell the story of your experience. You will describe the events in the order that they happened. Okay, then for the conclusion, discuss the significance of your narrative essay, of your narrative, perhaps telling what you learned or why the experience was important to you. Okay, so that makes up a 5 to 6 paragraph essay. Now, I did list the MLA guidelines here at the bottom. Okay, so this essay is to be double-spaced, 1-inch margins, 12 font, and that should be Times New Roman, which I didn't write in there. Times New Roman or something close to that. Okay, then for the headings, the heading and the header, on page 112 of the Bedford Handbook, you can find a sample essay that has the heading in the upper left and then the header in the upper right. The heading is going to be your name, my name, the class name, and the date. Then the header in the upper right is your last name and the page number. Also, don't forget to write a creative title for your narrative essay. Now, this essay will be submitted through Turnitin on Canvas. Okay. Your first Bedford assignment explained the writing of an essay. It went into all the different particulars. For example, the introduction, the body, the conclusion, and writing paragraphs. The thesis statement was also discussed, and that again comes at the end of your introduction. Okay, next I want to read and explain the rubric, which again you can find on the modules list. The rubric for the narrative, process, compare, contrast, and essay of definition. Basic rubric. Okay, so the rubric follows the prompt, and it shows critical thinking. Number one, use of creative topics and ideas throughout the essay that follow the prompt. And the essay contains critical thinking and analysis that goes beyond just superficial summarization. That's what makes your essay an essay and not just a narrative. You tell a story, but you have significance in it. The structure, properly formatted MLA, which we just went over. And the paragraph and essay length is 5 to 6 paragraphs. And that should be 2 to 3 pages. And that's 2 pages absolutely minimum for that. And again, your paragraphs, 1 paragraph for introduction, 3 to 4 per body, and 1 paragraph for the conclusion. And you should have effective use of transitions. This is number 3 under structure. And consistent lengths between and within sentences and paragraphs. So you should avoid choppy sentences. And your paragraphs, none of them should be little short paragraphs. Definitely over 3 sentences, around 1/3 of a page per paragraph. And some could be longer and some slightly smaller. But for a college essay, you don't really have any small paragraphs. Okay, organization. And this is worth 50 points of your 100. First of all, the introduction has a clearly defined thesis statement and is interesting. Now, I left out something important there. You should have the background of your essay in the introduction. And that would just be briefly telling where and when the experience took place. Okay, so where and when, a little bit on significance, and then your thesis statement for the introduction. Number 2, the body paragraphs. They have clearly defined topic sentences that usually start the body paragraphs, topic sentence, and they relate back to the thesis. So they'll be relating back to what your essay is all about, what the narrative is. Number 3, body paragraphs. These relate to topic sentences and are structured logically. Number 4, conclusion. That wraps up the essay and discusses the essay's significance. And again, it's important to have significance and do a good job on that in the conclusion. And that makes your paper more of an essay, not just a story. Okay, last one, mechanics and grammar. Number 1, the essay is well proofread and contains few spelling, punctuation, and grammar errors. Number 2, word choice is formal and reflects the college level writing. Now, I don't mean formal. I mean a step above your conversational speech. You don't want to just be conversational in your essay. Make it a little more formal. Now, the River Reader narrative essays that you worked on last week. The best example of a narrative was Shooting an Elephant. Now, it's longer than what you have to write and that you are required to write, but it is organized in a well-developed essay. Orwell not only tells an interesting story, but he also infuses the essay with meaningful and significant thoughts. This is what you are to do in your assignment. Again, have significance incorporated a little bit in the introduction, especially to discuss it in the conclusion. Now, Orwell kind of talked about significance all the way through, but you aren't expected to do that. That's a professional writer. Okay, and I recommend that before you write this narrative essay, that you write an outline first in preparation. I really recommend that. Okay, so finally, do your research modules this week, your research module for this week, and write your first essay. Be sure to proofread your essay well before you turn it in, and see if if you have any questions. Oh, if you have any questions now's the time to, some of you have already put them on there, and I'll talk about those. And this week, be sure to email me if you have any questions at all. And remember, no late work is accepted. So this needs to be done, but this is the main assignment you have for all this week, is your narrative essay. So Allison is asking everybody, what is the research basic quiz? And will the question be, what will the question be based on? Okay, the research basic quiz is on your module list. You just have to, it's the second one of the module research modules. Other questions? Josh says yes, that's where it is. Thank you, Josh. Any other questions? Page number in the header, that's upper right-hand corner. So if you look on page 112 and look at the sample essay, first page has last name like Hayward 1, then page 2 has Hayward 2 in the upper right-hand corner. If you write a third page, it would be Hayward 3. And the assignments you turned in, as far as when they're going to be graded, they should be done by Wednesday. And then the essay takes a little longer because I have 2 sets of essays, and those are read real thoroughly. So those take up to 2 weeks to get those scores and papers back to you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm still not clear on what the quiz is. Okay, it's the second module called Research Basics. And if you just go to your module list and look for that, they're all listed in order, and you should be able to find that. And on the assignments you did this week, I'll let you know if you followed the proper format. That's the main thing I'm looking for on the River Reader and the Bedfords, is that you are complete and you follow the format. And I will let you know if you have any problems. And if it's fine, you'll just get a score of 45 out of 45 for the River Reader and 15 out of 15 for the Bedford. And I also will correct the research modules. The biography, if you did it, you'll get your credit for that. Okay, and again, the Bedford Handbook, it gives you general info. The question is it based on the handbook? What are you talking about there, Allison? The essay? Because the essay information is in the first 3 chapters of the Bedford. And then, as I was saying, as the book goes on, you get more on mechanics and grammar. And the book has a lot on the research paper that, of course, we're going to have later in the semester. That's such. Yeah, no, the quiz is on the syllabus. Yeah, the quiz is based on the research basics overview in the module. Then Layla Salem says, on the River Reader, I couldn't always find a definite where and when. Okay, or it seemed the thesis was in a paragraph that wasn't the first. Okay. Now this again, these are professional writers, and I meant to talk about this earlier. When you read these essays, sometimes the thesis comes later, or it's stated once, then restated early in the essay. And we have a format to follow for this class. It's a beginning composition class. So we go introduction with thesis statement, body paragraphs, then conclusion with significance. So I've kept it pretty straightforward for you. So if you follow that, you will be fine. Usually they'll state where and when early on in the paper. Now, Orwell does that. He talks about being in Burma when he was a young man. And it doesn't have to be real long. Just get your reader oriented to where and when this essay takes place. So you'll find sometimes they never come right out with a thesis. But one thing I mentioned last week that you can do on the River Readers, and we don't have any River Readers this week, but we will have a lot more in the future. We have 24 essays for the semester. So yeah, so the thesis statements, if you look at the biography of the author before the essay starts, the thesis statement is given to you at the end of the biographies. So you always will have some help with the thesis statement. Then you can look for it in the beginning or introduction or early chapter, early paragraphs of the essay. Okay, the research basic quiz. Look under the modules, and it's there. Are there any other new questions? Okay. This is the first time I've used Zoom like this, and hopefully we'll be back to YouTube next week, but just had technical problems. We couldn't get it to work. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so that is it then for this week. And I'll have office hour tomorrow from 12 to 1. So I will be on my computer. That's a great time to get your question asked and answered right away. Or if you want to ask it earlier in the morning, then I'll get to it at noon tomorrow. Okay, thank you.